I can't believe we are entering into the second to the last month of 2024, but here we are, and it's time for my November TBR. Hello book friends, I'm Jen, and welcome to my reading life, and welcome to my November TBR. I can't believe it's almost November. Where has this year gone? I know everyone is probably saying that, but it is true. The days are long, but the years are short, as that saying goes. However, here we are, and I have a pretty good stack for November. I keep making these big TBR stacks and then only making my way through a few of them, but I'm a mood reader, what can I say? I will say that quite a few of the books in my stack are for something specific like a buddy read or a challenge or something. So I only have a couple of books that are added in possibilities, and really they are just carryovers from October that I really still want to read but didn't get to and don't think I'm going to get to in the final few days of October. But without further ado, because I know what you are all here for is the books, let's get into my stack. I have my trusty mug of Yorkshire Gold tea here, which is keeping me warm. It's actually quite chilly here this morning in California, though it's going to warm up quite a bit later today, so I may need to change into short sleeves later, but for right now, I'm enjoying this lovely warming mug of tea, and let's talk about some books, shall we? The first book that I'm going to talk about, I am super excited to read. This is actually a reread for me, but I'm reading it with my Gilded Age book group friends. And this is not a Gilded Age novel. This is a Victorian novel. So we are veering a little bit out of our normal reads this month, but they were all interested in rereading this book. And so we're going to do it together. And that is Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. It has been too many years since I read this wonderful book, and I am so excited to dive back into it. And I'm sure you're all familiar with the story of Jane Eyre, but I can't wait. This might be the book I am the most I'm excited for so many of these. Do I say that every month, how excited I am to read these books? Books they just lift me up. They make me so happy. All the possibilities inside of them. Even books I've reread, I feel like there's still possibilities to discover within them, and that just makes me happy. And then the next book is our pick for November for the Cozy Reader Book Club that I host along with Rebecca of Wilson Hill. And this month we are going to read a mystery, and we have chosen They Found Him Dead by Georgette Eyre. And this is actually one of the books in Georgette Eyre's Hannahside, and I forget Hannahside's little partner or co-detective. Anyway, this is part of that series that she has. She does have some more standalone mysteries, but she does have this Hannahside series. I don't really feel like you need to read them in order. I've read a couple of the others, and there isn't that much like character development going on, so you can read them really in any order. And in this one, we are at Silas Cain's 60th birthday party, and there is an argument amongst the family, and the next morning, Cain is found dead. The coroner's verdict of death by misadventure would seem to confirm that Silas accidentally lost his way in the fog, but then his heir is shot and threats are made against the next in line to inherit the fortune. So then Hannahside is called in to investigate. So sounds like people in the family are dropping like flies, and Hannahside needs to figure out what is going on. So very excited to read this. If you would like to join the Cozy Reader Book Club, you can find the information for that down in the description box. Just reach out to me, send me your email address, and we will add you to our mailing list. The next book is another mystery, and this is very exciting, you guys. This is the final book in the Lord Peter Wimsey mystery series, which is Busman's Honeymoon by Dorothy L. Sayers. I am going to complete the Lord Peter Wimsey series in November. This has been such a wonderful little challenge I gave myself this year. It has been so fun to read a Lord Peter Wimsey mystery each month. Some I enjoyed. I enjoyed them all. Don't get me wrong. Some I enjoyed much more than others, though. So I'm actually currently in the middle of Gaudy Night right now, and it's a reread for me, and it's just as lovely as the first time around. So I'm excited to read Busman's Honeymoon. I do think I also have read this one in the past, but I don't remember a thing about it. So it will be like going into it again for the first time. And then in December, I'm going to do a wrap-up video of the entire Lord Peter Wimsey novels and rank them all and tell you about my journey and all of that. So stay tuned, that will be coming. The next two books are from my TBR 24 in 24 challenge, and the first book that I am going to read in November and finally finish is The Diary of a Provincial Lady by E.M. Delafield. I've talked about this book. I actually started it last year. I got 90 pages in. That's where my bookmark still is. And then I think I just got sidetracked. It wasn't that I wasn't enjoying it. It's just that, you know, the new, the shiny, the whatever my mood was at the time, I was very much distracted from this book, but I am bound and determined to finish it. This is actually a bind up of the 4 Diary of a Provincial Lady books. So this is Diary of a Provincial Lady, The Provincial Lady Goes Further, The Provincial Lady in America, and The Provincial Lady in Wartime. So I'm going to read all 4 of those in this one bind up in November. That is my goal. If I do nothing else, this is the book I'm going to read. And then my second book, because I was thinking ahead this year, is a nonfiction pick because, of course, it is Nonfiction November. Now, I haven't participated in Nonfiction November here on Booktube before, so this will be a first for me, but I have participated in it in the past on Bookstagram, and I've read a number of nonfiction books in the past however many Novembers. Always enjoy this challenge. It is definitely the push I need at this time of year to pick up some nonfiction books. As you can tell, I read mostly fiction. I don't read a ton of nonfiction, so I love that this challenge kind of spurs me on to add a few of those titles to my read list for the year. And the one I picked for TBR 24 and 24 this year is The Sharper Your Knife, The Less You Cry by Kathleen Flynn. Yes, Kathleen Flynn. And this is Kathleen Flynn's memoir of her time at Le Cordon Bleu cooking school in Paris. And I think we're just going to follow along with all of the drama that happens while she is there. I have a feeling that is a very intense experience to go through. You know, Le Cordon Bleu chefs, I think it's pretty intense. So I'm excited. I love cooking memoirs and food memoirs, so I have a feeling this is going to be a win for me, so hopefully it is. And that leads me into the other 2 books that I have on my TBR for Nonfiction November. And the first is a book, I just decided to finish this in November. I've been reading this over the course of the year, 1 chapter every month, but I've just decided to read the final 2 chapters in November and be finished with it, and that is Jacob's Room is Full of Books by Susan Hill. This is the follow-up book to Howard's End is on the Landing, and each of the chapters is divided by the months of the year. So I thought it would just be kind of fun to read 1 chapter in the corresponding month. They don't really, they're not really seasonal chapters per se. I mean, she may talk about something in her life that's going on in that particular month, or maybe something a little bit seasonal, but it's not really necessary to read it the way that I have, which is why I've just decided to finish November and December in November because I don't have that much left to read, just this little bit. And actually the last part of it is all just a book list of all the books she mentions. So really I just have this many pages left to go. It just seems silly to push it out into December when I know I'm going to want to read holiday, wintry themed books in December. So I'm gonna finish this one finally, and I'll talk about it in my November wrap up, what I felt about it all. But I will say Howard's End on the Landing is definitely more enjoyable to me than this one has been. And I'll talk all about why when I wrap up this month. Next month. When I wrap up next month. And then the final nonfiction pick I have for November is a book which I just recently picked up. And I have to say I was a little bit influenced by all of the buzz about this book. This is Reese Witherspoon's current pick for her book club, which is The Comfort of Crows, A Backyard Year by Margaret Rankle. And Margaret Rankle was one of Reese Witherspoon's teachers. And I just think this just sounds like such a lovely book. And also it's got illustrations, which I think were done, I think by her brother. Yes. So throughout the book, let me find throughout the book, there are these beautiful illustrations. It's just a gorgeous, gorgeous book. And I know it kind of goes throughout the year, so I don't know if I'll read the whole thing in November. We'll just kind of see how I feel, but I'm definitely going to start it and dive into it. And I think this will be just a lovely, maybe I'll dip into it in the evenings when I get into bed and just read a little chapter every night. So those are the 3 books that I have selected for Nonfiction November. And then, as I mentioned early on in the video, I have 2 books that were also on my October TBR, but I did not get to them. And I still really want to read them. I'm still in the mood for them. And they're just going on my November TBR because it's my TBR, right? And I can do whatever I want with it. So this is what I'm doing. So the first book is Final Acts, edited by Martin Edwards. This is part of the British Library Crime Classics series. And these are theatrical mysteries, a collection of short stories, all set in the theater, which is just one of my favorite settings for mysteries. So I really, really want to read these. And again, even if I don't finish this in November, I'm definitely going to dip into it this month. I had high hopes to dip into it in October, but I had a lot of other books I was dipping in. I say dipping and diving so much in these videos. One of you called me out on that, was laughing at me, which feel free to laugh about it. I don't know, some sort of reading swimmer or something. But yes, so I didn't get to this in October. Hopefully November is the month. And then the last book on my TBR is Dear Hugo by Molly Clavering. I just fell in love with Molly Clavering when I read Near Neighbors in September, I believe. And I just want to read more of her. She's so like her friend D.E. Stevenson, who I absolutely adore. And Dear Hugo is an epistolary novel, and I am always, always in the mood for epistolary books. So hopefully I will get to this one in November as well. And that is it. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 books on my TBR. Oh, and I should also mention that I will be reading book 7 of Middlemarch in November. And then I just have book 8 to finish up in December, and I will have completed my read through of Middlemarch this year. That's been such a lovely way to read this. I am really enjoying just spending a portion of almost every month reading some Middlemarch, and what an amazing, amazing piece of literature that is. So I'll be wrapping that up in January to talk about my whole experience doing that. And maybe I'll do something similar with another classic for 2025. I haven't decided yet. That is it for my November TBR, and I would love to hear from you in the comments. Have you read any of the books that I have mentioned? Are you participating in Nonfiction November, and what are you going to be reading? I'd love to hear people's nonfiction picks because, like I said, it is just a genre I don't read as much of as I do fiction, and I'm always looking for good recommendations. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please hit that like button and subscribe if you're not already subscribed. And I'll be back with another video very soon. Bye.